Imagine waking up at 3 in the morning, not because of anxiety, not because of a crying baby, not because your phone buzzed, because a bell rang. A bronze bell cast in the year 1100, calling you to stand in a cold stone church and sing psalms for 2 hours. Then, after that, you go back to bed and you sleep again. This wasn't torture. This was Wednesday. For medieval monks, this was the rhythm of life, and they didn't just endure it, they thrived on it. How? The answer is growing in their garden. For 10 centuries, cloistered monks and nuns have followed a schedule that would break most modern humans. They sleep in 2 segments, a first sleep after evening prayers, then they wake around 2 or 3 a.m. for the matin service, a 2 to 3 hour marathon of chanting and prayer. Then they go back for a second sleep until dawn. Modern science calls this split sleep or biphasic sleep. And here's the mind-blowing part. A 2011 study published in the journal Chronobiology International found that these monks and nuns who have maintained the schedule for up to 46 years without interruption have fully adapted their circadian core body temperature rhythms to this fragmented pattern. Their bodies learned to drop temperature for first sleep, rise slightly during the matins vigil, then drop again for second sleep. Their internal clocks literally rewired themselves. But here's what the study doesn't tell you. The study doesn't mention the gardens. It doesn't mention the herbarius, the medicinal herb garden that every medieval monastery maintained, because the monks didn't just rely on willpower and faith to survive these brutal schedules. They had a pharmacological arsenal growing right outside their cells. The earliest description of a monastic garden comes from the year 840, the Liber de Cultura Hortorum, written by the abbot of the Reichenau Benedictine Abbey. It lists plants like sage, rue, wormwood, fennel, poppy, mint, betony, and rose. These weren't just for cooking. These plants were medicine, and the monks understood something that we're only now rediscovering. Certain herbs can literally reset your circadian rhythm. They can tell your brain when to sleep and when to wake, independent of sunlight. Let's start with the most powerful one, sage, Salvia officinalis. The name comes from the Latin salvare, to heal, to save. Medieval herbalists had a saying, "Why should a man die while sage grows in his garden?" The Romans used it in medicine and cooking, but the monks took it to another level. The officinalis in its botanical name is a direct reference to the monastic officina, the storeroom where herbs and medicines were prepared. Sage was described in the medieval period as being fresh and green to cleanse the body of venom and pestilence. But its real power, it modulates the nervous system. Modern research shows that sage contains compounds that influence GABA receptors, the same ones targeted by modern anti-anxiety medications. GABA is your brain's brake pedal. When GABA receptors are activated, your nervous system slows down. Your heart rate drops, your brain waves shift towards sleep. The monks would brew sage tea, drink it before their first sleep, and their bodies would enter a state of deep restorative rest, despite knowing they'd be yanked out of it in just a few hours. But sage was just the beginning. Let's talk about lavender, Lavandula angustifolia. The name comes from the Latin lavare, to wash. In monastic medicine, lavender was considered an herb that calms the heart and senses. It was used for sleep problems, nervousness, headaches, and to purify spaces. Monastic writings praise it as an herb of peace that brings harmony and tranquility to everyday life. The Benedictines planted lavender along garden paths so that its fragrance would waft up to passers-by. They knew something intuitively that science has now confirmed. The scent of lavender increases slow-wave sleep, decreases heart rate variability, and, here's the circadian connection, modulates melatonin production. Melatonin is your body's darkness hormone. It tells your brain that it's time to sleep. Modern research shows that lavender essential oil can increase the percentage of slow-wave sleep, the deep restorative phase that most modern humans are chronically deficient in. The monks would place lavender sachets in their pillows, brew lavender tea, or simply crush the leaves and inhale the fragrance before climbing into their cold, hard beds. It was their natural sleeping pill, without the grogginess. Then there's valerian, Valeriana officinalis. This one is a heavy hitter. Introduced to Europe from Asia, it was prized for its sedative and sleep-inducing properties. Medieval monks used it to treat insomnia, anxiety, and even hysteria. They would prepare it as a powder or a draught, and modern science has confirmed what they knew all along. Valerian increases GABA levels in the brain. But here's the thing about valerian. It smells terrible, like dirty socks. The monks didn't care. They weren't drinking it for the flavor. They were drinking it for the effect, and the effect was profound. Deeper sleep, faster sleep onset, and, crucially, the ability to fall back asleep after the matins interruption. Because that was the real challenge, wasn't it? It's one thing to fall asleep at night. It's another thing entirely to wake up at 2 a.m., stand in a freezing church for 2 hours, and then go back to your cell and fall asleep again. That takes more than faith. That takes pharmacology. The monks also used lemon balm, Melissa officinalis. This was their stress relief herb. Even before the Middle Ages, lemon balm was steeped in wine to lift the spirits, help heal wounds, and treat nervous insect bites and stings. In the monastery, it was used to reduce stress and anxiety, promote sleep, improve appetite, and ease pain and discomfort from indigestion. Modern studies show that lemon balm increases GABA levels and reduces cortisol, the stress hormone that keeps you awake at night. Cortisol is the enemy of sleep. It's your body's wake up and fight hormone. When cortisol is high, melatonin is low. The monks used lemon balm to keep cortisol in check, making it easier to transition between sleep and wakefulness multiple times per night. And then there's the poppy, Papaver somniferum, the opium poppy. Yes, the monks grew it. They knew exactly what it was. The peel of a poppy stalk could be ground and mixed with honey to make a plaster for wounds, but the poppy's primary use was as a sedative. Medieval physicians and monks knew that poppy-based preparations could induce sleep, deep, dreamless, uninterrupted sleep. Now, before you get any ideas, the monks weren't getting high. They were using highly diluted preparations, usually mixed with other herbs, to achieve a specific therapeutic effect. The poppy was a tool, not a recreational substance. The poppy contains compounds that bind to opioid receptors in the brain, the same receptors targeted by modern painkillers. But in small, controlled doses, these compounds simply calm the nervous system and promote sleep. The monks understood dosage. But here's where it gets really interesting. The monks didn't just use these herbs individually, they combined them. They created formulas, synergistic blends that amplified the effects of each individual plant. This is called synergy. When you combine herbs, the whole becomes greater than the sum of its parts. Sage plus lavender plus valerian plus lemon balm, each one targeting a different pathway in the brain, creating a cascading effect that no single herb could achieve. And the monks weren't just guessing, they were documenting, they were experimenting, they were sharing knowledge across monasteries, across countries, across centuries. The Hortulus of Walafred Strabo, written in the 9th century, is one of the oldest and most highly valued documents of medieval herb-growing knowledge. The Plan of St. Gall, a 9th century architectural diagram of an ideal monastery, shows the exact location of the herbarius, the medicinal herb garden, in the northeastern corner of the monastery, immediately east of the house of the physicians. This wasn't chaos, this was science. Medieval monks were the original sleep scientists. They had to be. Their entire spiritual practice depended on their ability to wake up in the middle of the night and function, to chant, to pray, to think in a state of alert wakefulness. The human circadian rhythm is a 24-hour cycle that regulates sleep-wake patterns, body temperature, hormone release, and hundreds of other biological processes. It's driven by light exposure. When light hits your eyes, it signals your brain to stop producing melatonin and start producing cortisol. You wake up. But the monks were living in a world without electric light. Their only sources of light were the sun, the moon, and candles. So how did they trick their brains into waking up at 2 a.m. for matins when it was still pitch black outside? The answer is they didn't trick their brains, they reset them. They used herbs to create artificial light signals in their nervous systems, herbs that increased alertness during the night and herbs that induced sleep during the day. Think about it. The monks woke up at 3:15 a.m. for the vigils. They prayed until around 5 a.m. Then they had a brief period of rest before the lauds at 6:15 a.m. Their sleep was fragmented, broken, interrupted, and yet they functioned. Modern research on split sleep has shown that the body can adapt, but it takes time. The cloistered monks and nuns studied by Arnulf and colleagues had been following this schedule for 5 to 46 years without interruption. Their bodies had learned to drop core temperature for first sleep, rise slightly during the matins vigil, and then drop again for second sleep. Their circadian rhythms had essentially split into 2 cycles. But here's the question the study doesn't answer. How much of this adaptation was pharmacological? How much of their ability to function on split sleep came from the herbs they were consuming daily? We know they used herbs. We know they used them specifically for sleep and alertness. We know they had sophisticated knowledge of dosages and combinations. And we know that modern science is confirming what they discovered 1,000 years ago. The compounds in sage, lavender, valerian, lemon balm, and poppy, they actually work. They affect the same neural pathways as modern sleep medications, but with fewer side effects. Valerian increases GABA, lemon balm reduces cortisol, lavender increases slow-wave sleep, sage modulates the nervous system, poppy induces deep relaxation. Combined, they created a circadian cocktail that allowed the monks to control their sleep-wake cycles with remarkable precision. This wasn't magic, this was medicine. It was the best medicine available in the medieval world, and it was growing right outside their doors. The monastic garden wasn't just a food source. It was a pharmacy, a laboratory, a place of observation and experimentation. Monks spent up to 5 hours a day in the garden, picking herbs to flavor their meals and use as medicine. The garden was also a place of meditation, reading, and discussion. It was where the mind and body could heal together. The plants provided not just chemical compounds, but a connection to the natural world, a reminder that humans are part of nature's rhythms, not separate from them. So what can we learn from the monks? How can we apply their wisdom to our broken sleep cycles, to our circadian rhythms destroyed by blue light, caffeine, and chronic stress? First, stop thinking of sleep as a single block. The monks didn't. They embraced the interruption. They worked with their biology, not against it. Second, herbs work, not as a substitute for good sleep hygiene, but as a supplement to it. A cup of sage tea before bed, a lavender sachet on your pillow, a valerian tincture when your mind won't stop racing. Third, the monks understood that sleep is not just about the night, it's about the entire day. Their schedule included periods of work, prayer, reading, and meditation, all of which supported healthy sleep. Your modern grind culture is the enemy of rest. The monks didn't have smartphones, they didn't have Netflix, they didn't have 24-hour news cycles, but they had something we've lost, a deep, intuitive connection to their own biological rhythms, and the knowledge of how to support those rhythms with the plants growing at their feet. The Liber de Cultura Hortorum listed plants like sage, rue, wormwood, fennel, poppy, mint, betony, and rose. Each one had a purpose, each one was a tool, each one was part of a system that kept the monks healthy, alert, and spiritually focused for 1,000 years. So the next time you wake up at 3 a.m. and can't fall back asleep, don't reach for your phone. Reach for a cup of lemon balm tea. Think of the monks. They woke up at 3 a.m. too, but they did it on purpose. They did it with intention, and they had a garden full of herbs to help them get back to sleep. The wisdom of the medieval monks is not lost. It's growing in gardens all over the world. It's waiting for us to rediscover it. The question is, will we? If you're struggling with sleep, if your circadian rhythm is destroyed, if you're tired of being tired, the answer might not be in a pill bottle. It might be in a garden. It might be in the same herbs that kept monks awake and asleep for 1,000 years. Subscribe to this channel for more ancient wisdom that modern science is finally catching up to. Hit the bell icon, yes, the bell that calls you to wake up, just like the monks, and leave a comment. Which herb are you going to try tonight?